Sometimes during Christmas, something magical happens.
Hey, Cricket customers. The Max with Ads plan is included with the Cricket $60 unlimited plan at no additional cost. And this holiday season, Max is the one to watch when you're feeling festive.
Son of a nutcracker!
Cozy up to all the holiday classics, like Elf, 8-Bit Christmas, and the Harry Potter 8-film collection. Just log in with your Cricket username and password to experience Max on all your favorite devices. Phone plan streams and standard definition. Programming subject to change. Fees, terms, and restrictions apply. See cricketwireless.com for details.
My brother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. That's why I told my husband we could not put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. Then we called SelectQuote. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month, a savings of $369 a year.
Whether you need a $500,000 policy or a $5 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance.
For your free quote, go to SelectQuote.com. SelectQuote.com. That's SelectQuote.com.
SelectQuote. We shop, you save. Full details on example policies at SelectQuote.com/commercials.
Welcome to Pretty Lies and Alibis. Join us as we seek the truth and travel the long road to justice. What's going on, everybody? It's Thursday. Time for another episode of Pretty Lies and Alibis. I'm Gigi. What you know, Fruit Loop?
I feel I'm just running ragged. We're getting ready to go out of town, so I'm like doing all kind of little stuff to get.
Yeah.
So it's hot here.
Oh, so hot.
So I was like cleaning the car out.
Oh yeah.
It was so hot vacuuming it out.
I always think it's pointless to clean a car before a vacation when you're traveling with kids because they just destroy it by the time you get on the interstate.
Dude, one of the kids emptied an entire Cheerio box in the floor. So.
Oh yeah, that's good. Let's not talk about the stuff my kids have emptied into the floor.
Man.
Some of which came from down below.
Yeah.
So we got a surprise yesterday. Andrea, our sponsor with 2 cool t-shirt quilts, sent us 2 amazing pillows that have our logo on the front and back.
Very cool.
Super cool. They're big pillows and they're very comfy. It's really good for me because I prop up in my bed and play my video game when I'm bored, which hasn't happened lately. But last night I did, and it was perfect. So
yeah, I showed mine. You brought mine to the theater.
Yep.
And everybody was like, "Oh my gosh, that's so awesome."
I know. We have some listeners from the theater too, so we want to give them a shout out. Was it Taylor was telling me your name.
Angie.
Hey Angie, what's up, girl? So we have some big news. You're going to be out of town, and it's a bummer. But tomorrow night, I'll be filming a collaboration with Scott Reich on the Vallow documents.
That's going to be cool.
Really, really excited to do that. And it's kind of full circle because we watched Scott Reich before we started this podcast. So It's really, really neat. We're super excited, and we hope it's the first of more.
Yeah, he's cool. I love him.
Yeah, he's a straight shooter. And it's really good because we're not legal. And so whenever we have a question, like we'll shoot him a question or watch a show, and usually we're good to go. So
yep.
One quick thing is that I have Facebook and tweeted about this, and I've reached out to the police department. There's a cold case here in Greenville. 22 years ago, a girl named Brooke Henson disappeared just without a trace. And they're putting that back out there to see if they could maybe solve this crime. So what I'm going to do is I've reached out to them to see if there's any way I can get some information about this case, look through the stuff, and eventually do an episode on it. It's literally in our backyard.
Oh, yeah.
And I knew her, but not well. More of when I see her picture, I remember her, and I remember knowing her a little bit, but not very well. But I do remember when she went missing.
Yeah, I remember her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, just want to clarify, in the document dump, there was a document that was shared with law enforcement that was written by a guy named Dan Judd, where he had this really crazy wackadoodle theory that, well, I don't want to say wackadoodle because anything's possible with these people, but he said that he had some knowledge that Lori and Alex were involved in this really elaborate meth trafficking ring to gather money to pay for some legal thing that was coming up.
Yeah, I read that.
Okay. So we put that out there just for people to read. And I think people read it and thought, oh my gosh, it came with the documents. It's a fact. This is what they were looking into. So we're still getting comments on that. I just want to say there's no indication from anything I have seen or read with these documents or in the last almost 2 years that drug trafficking was ever a concern. The only reason I posted that was because of the true beta. because that is a very interesting theory. It does cause heart failure. We don't know. But I just want to clear up. We're not saying that was even on their radar.
Yep.
So let's really quickly go through just a little bit of news in the Murdaugh case down here in South Carolina, and then we'll hop right into these documents.
All right. So it was revealed this week that Paul Murdaugh was 3 times over the legal limit when his blood was taken at the hospital. In the house following the deadly
I'm
crash.
sorry. It should be the hours following the deadly crash.
In the hours. I was in the house.
Yeah.
So they took his in the house. No. 3 times over limit. That's huge.
And you have to think, some time had passed from when he was transported and they actually got the search warrant. I don't know if they had to do a search warrant at that point to get his blood. I think they do. But the time had passed. So if it was 3 times, I bet at the time of the crash it was higher.
How was he even walking?
Sometimes these people just have a high tolerance, but then obviously his alter ego Timmy came out and
wow.
Yeah, crazy. We also linked, Fitz News had put out a lot of the surveillance footage and I think we had mentioned this before, that showed in the hours leading up to the crash. So also when Officer Pritchard arrived on scene, Paul was visibly drunk, obviously, and he was slurring his words. So at the hospital, Paul had to be strapped to the gurney, because he was so out of control. And there was an officer posted outside of his hotel. It was not a hotel.
It was a house.
Yeah.
Ooh,
I need a nap. I've been working hard for days.
Yeah.
So, I mean, clearly the privilege and feeling like he's above everybody went well into the hospital.
Wow. So it was also revealed that the GPS on the boat shows it nearly crashed into a swing bridge on their way to the bar in downtown Beaufort.
Yep. So even before they even got to the bar, boom, could have happened sooner. At 2:20 in the morning, the Garmin shows a decrease in speed and then a sharp increase. And witnesses on the boat say that this happened. If you remember, Paul got into an argument with his girlfriend and stepped to the back of the boat for a minute. And everybody on the boat said that the increase in speed happened when he regained control of the boat, which then shortly thereafter was the crash. So yeah, that's kind of all the latest in the Murdaugh case. There's still not a lot coming out. No updates on that court filing where they're wanting some more redactions taken away, but we'll keep you updated. So we're just going to quickly go through some of the Vallow stuff. We're not going to get very deep into it today, but we're going to talk about these rings. And I can tell you, they got glow and malachite, or she ordered this glow and malachite ring off of Etsy. And I mean, it just seems so 80s to me. It's like all they needed at that point was a slap bracelet that glowed in the dark to complete the look.
Yeah, that and the hypercolor t-shirts.
Oh, yeah.
Remember those you could put your handprints on them when they showed you?
I still want one. But it also showed your hot spots. So it's like
under your arms.
and under other things.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would have this hypercolor line under your girls. Yeah.
It was funny.
But I swear, I think you can still get those on eBay. I bet they don't work though.
Oh, no.
I don't know. I try. So tell us about the purchase.
So Lori initially purchased a glow-in-the-dark malachite ring from Etsy on August 15, 2019 for $259.98. I feel like you're on the process right with that.
I know, right?
Yeah. This was before the move to Rexburg and only 35 days since Charles's murder.
Yeah. I mean, how tacky.
Yeah.
She actually bought it. I mean, just with this card, it's just like, how brazen can you be?
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, anyways, yeah,
nothing to be said. I mean, it just.
I mean, she used his Amazon account too.
Yeah, and not only that, but the money that she paid, the card she used for the mortuary, is the same one she used like a week and a half later to buy Chad a plane ticket.
Amazing. Golly, crazy. So the delivery address was Chandler, Arizona, at the same house he was murdered in.
I mean, gosh, how tacky can you get?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Out to lunch.
Yeah,
eating a ham sandwich.
Yep.
So you got something on an email, right?
Yeah. So in an email, an investigator references what I think is the blessing that Alex was given right before he died. It said he's working. The investigator is working on a supplemental report for Lori that was already 28 pages long. And he said it, and I think he kind of said this in a joking way. He said it doesn't include the lengthy, and something's redacted there, blessing that was conveniently provided by Chad, what I'm assuming is right before he died.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one investigator says this case will be a great case study for the Southeastern Homicide Investigators Association.
It's going to be a good case study for a lot of mental health and criminal professionals, probably for the rest of our lifetime.
Yeah.
This is a big case. There's so many working parts to this, and we don't even know half of what to unpack yet. So I think we're going to be in our 70s flipping through TV channels, and we'll see a Vallow special.
Oh, yeah.
It's just,
most definitely.
yeah, this is one of those that's not going to go away. Unfortunately for the family, they're just going to have to, this is going to be their new reality, unfortunately.
Yeah. And it's like things with, it's always evolving. So there's always change. So even, stuff that investigators investigate, it's always evolving into something else.
Right. Yeah.
That you didn't think something could be that way, or you know what I mean?
Right. And it's like with these documents, what I've learned over the past 2 days weeding through them is, and we said it before, there's nothing bombshell in here, but it fills in a lot of gaps. And so things make a little better sense than they did before we got the documents. Yeah, there's not a lot of pictures in here. It's just mostly email back and forth with investigators. I haven't even touched the Preparing a People forums. They went in and screenshotted a ton of conversations, a lot of which were people defending Chad and Lori. And we'll do that on a future episode. But
in what I've read so far, and I'm reading what you're putting out because I'm in the black hole with no service, there's some crazy stuff.
Oh, yeah. Super crazy. And I haven't even put out half. I don't want to get flagged because apparently if you post too often on Twitter and Facebook, you can get kind of put in time out for a little bit. So I'm trying to just do a moderate amount. But believe me, if I put out everything I found that was somewhat interesting, we would have you would scroll for a day to get to the bottom.
Yeah, I think one of the things I saw in Adam Cox's wife, I forget her name, I can't think of her name. The letter she wrote out, I think it was in there, was Alex was messed up and they knew it.
Yeah, they were all very afraid of him. And I mean, you're looking at this point, I mean, we know what Zach was talking about before Charles got murdered. They were scared for them to even know where they were, and rightfully so.
Well, didn't she say something about he shot and killed a dog or something?
Well, yeah, we're going to talk about that in a little bit with the dog stuff. It's just, and psychopaths and serial killers, and they are serial killers. One of the things is they say one of the big clues is cruelty to animals. And Alex did his fair share at the bidding of other people, of course. It seems like Alex was just sort of like this video game character that you're holding the remote and you make him go where you want and make him do what you want him to do. That's just kind of how I see it. And he's evil. Oh, yeah. Because to follow through, but I'm just saying, she sure made a point not to get her hands dirty.
Yeah, I was going to say, and she knew how to play him.
Yep.
And what would trigger him and stuff. Yeah.
Now, one thing that came out this week that I did not put on here is that Lori lost a baby it seems like maybe in her teen years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So apparently, she had went to live with Stacy Cox and her husband. And during that time, it doesn't seem like the baby made it to term. Just something to throw out there. Everybody's kind of aware of it, but it's still just... For me, it's just another piece of the puzzle.
Oh, yeah.
Because she's this... I mean, look, people who are very religious get pregnant. It's, it's not... I don't see that as a religion thing. But some people were like, oh, yeah, she was going to temple before school and ends up pregnant. Well, it happens. I mean, I'm not going to pretend like that don't happen. Yeah. But it's just another thing that shows you, and I don't think it was her first husband's baby, from what I gather.
Huh.
So.
Wow.
Anyways.
So jumping back in here. So in the files in the order of protection that Charles filed, in the space where it asks for a description of what led you to file. So what does he say? Charles
says she told me that she was a god and was assigned to carry out the work of the 144,000 at Christ's second coming in July of 2020. Come and gone. We're still here, y'all. Thank goodness. She said I was in the way and she would have to murder me if I tried to stop her, which is exactly what happened. He totally just foreshadowed what happened to him and why right there.
Yep.
And then it says the next day on a business trip to Houston, while he was on a business trip to Houston, she called and told me she didn't trust me and would have to kill me when I got home. She would have an angel there to help dispose of my body. She said she knew my real name was Nick Schneider, and she said I'd have to go painfully. So that was the reasons that Charles gave in the section where you have to tell what incident essentially brought you here to get this order of protection.
Yeah, and we saw that on the police body cam footage too.
Yeah, I mean, he essentially said the same thing to the police on the body cam footage, that he put in this. And protective orders to me are, I mean, I hate to say it, they're kind of pointless, because if somebody's bent on doing harm to you, a piece of paper will never stop them.
Oh, no.
But if people had listened, that's a different story.
Yeah. Yep. So there was an audio file on Lori's phone titled Lori's Testimony with a modification date of February 25th, 2019. There's a redacted sentence that goes on to say, listening to her testimony, she is self-prophesying and everything she does is because her Heavenly Father tells her to. Then you hear the detective saying, enjoy the listening, will really help to understand her thinking.
Yeah. So no audio files or videos were released in this dump. We didn't even get I thought we would have got the 40 seconds from Bear World where they had video of Lori, Alex, and JJ on camera, but it wasn't anything. And there was maybe 15 to 20 pictures, and we put out there all the ones that were relevant.
Oh, yeah.
So in an email from Charles to Lori on March 19th, 2019, I'm just going to read through this real quick. And I think it's out there, but just, again, we're trying to go in an order. Lori, it's been 49 days since JJ or I have heard anything from you or your family. I informed you in the last email that if we didn't hear anything by Monday, March 11th, I would be left with no other decision than to take further action. I'm hoping and praying with JJ that you may reconsider. Therefore, I will keep the house until the end of April in hopes that you'll come see your son. He's doing well. He's actually taking his own tubby, washing his own hair, and getting his own jammies. After his tubby, he actually sits with me for a few minutes and then takes himself to bed. So we can do scripture and he goes right to sleep. He did get his first real haircut and it's adorable as he is. He just loved that boy.
Oh, yeah.
And you know what's crazy is when Lori was gone, this is the most normal environment I have seen for that kid ever.
Oh, yeah.
Covering this case right here, this email from Charles to Lori. And it's because she's gone and Charles is stable and he's able to provide that. So he goes on to say he's having fun with lots of his new buddies and cousins. He had his well check in March, and I sent you the form. He's doing quite well. I'm sure you're aware I did withdraw him from school so he could be close to the rest of his family. Of course, he misses Tylee, but if it was your decision to cut that off. He's been homeschooled with an experienced special needs teacher. I make no judgment, Lori. I only wanted what is best for JJ, and having you in his life is crucial to his well-being and development. It makes you sad to think that he had that much faith in her.
Oh, yeah.
When it ended up being the opposite. So he goes on to say, please see your son or at least call him. He does miss you terribly and simply cannot understand where you went. Please do or say something for him. He deserves it. And he puts please in all caps in Charles.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean...
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that there's anything different Charles could have done with the situation he was dealt, other than just picking up JJ and leaving. But, you go back to everybody who knew her before. You just don't think homicide. You don't think murder.
Yeah.
And at this point, Joe Ryan probably, he's dead at this point, but Charles is alive. So he knows she's having these crazy thoughts and she's disappeared. But at this point, if you remember, they reconcile after this.
Yep. So,
man, just makes me feel so bad. So bad for Charles. So we have another letter. Why don't you take that one?
This is
from Charles to Adam Cox.
So it says, Adam, open this letter and see what she did. I'm not sure of the relationship with her, if the relationship with her and Chad Daybell, but they are up to something. She created an email alias for me as I've never set this one up. She sent this yesterday and I guess she forgot all her emails are on the computer at my house. I asked her to explain it and she started blaming you, Brandon, and me for perpetuating a scheme against her. Just more of her paranoia. She will not explain it. I'm going to send it to Chad Daybell's wife. Her name is Tammy, and I found her email address on their website. I've got her cell number too. Sounds very suspicious to me. What do you think? Whenever she gets caught doing this kind of stuff, she starts blaming everybody else. Mostly me, you, and Brandon. Brandon and I are the victims of her craziness. I wish you luck trying to help her. I was the only one brave enough to try to get her help in January, and look what happened to me. The whole family put a scarlet letter on me. Maybe now they can see what they're up against. Thanks.
He shoots it straight, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm glad that he at least had Adam and Zach to lean on from that family because, I mean, and a lot of our listeners have said this. It's one thing to believe your family member if they accuse somebody of having an affair. To totally omit a child from your life because of what she says about his father, to me, that tells me all I need to know about these people.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't call to check on JJ when he was with Charles. Nothing. Just radio silence.
And the thing is, JJ special needs, any kid's not going to understand just somebody up and leaving.
Right.
But then he's special needs, so that's even tougher for him to grasp what's going on.
The disruption in schedule is detrimental.
Oh my goodness,
to
yes.
children with special needs. We say it again and again. Continuity in life is everything.
Yeah, and the thing, she knew that, and she still...
But she's selfish.
Yeah.
She could know a lot of things, but if it didn't suit her, then she didn't have time for it.
Yeah.
So we're going to jump over to the attempt on Brandon. They kind of do a little background on this paper. They go through the date of the murder of Charles and that he had a life insurance policy of $1 million. And they say that Lori and Tylee were allegedly present, but outside the house when the murder happened. They say statements made by Lori, Alex, and Tylee are inconsistent with evidence found during the investigation. They photographed the two-door gray Jeep at the crime scene and said it had a Texas license plate. Of course, we know the car was registered to Charles, but Tylee was the main driver at the time. And then at this time, they were waiting on physical evidence, I guess that was gathered from the car, and further interviews with the involved people. And there were 2 paragraphs of that redacted.
Huh.
So V1 is going to be Brandon in this. So this is what they call an involved persons matrix. And that's essentially where they give background information of who's who and how they're connected. There's some of that in these. It talks about how Melanie was married to V1, which is Brandon, for 10 years, 4 kids later. It says, prior to his death, Charles Vallow warned Brandon about Lori's influence on Melanie and encouraged Brandon to keep Melanie away from Lori. Despite Brandon's attempts to prove Lori's prophecy was untrue, Melanie maintained Lori's conviction and filed for divorce in July of 2019, which is the same month Charles was murdered.
Ooh.
Melanie refused to verbally communicate with Brandon any further, so that they used a court mediator to legally separate finances, custody, property sales, etc.
You see that hatred, though, because Charles mentions it in that letter.
Oh, yeah.
That Adam, him, and Brandon always get blamed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So it says that Brandon and Melanie's previous home in Gilbert is about to sell, and they live apart at this point, and that Brandon had found a rental property and moved in on September 27th, 2019, which was 5 days before his attempted murder.
Right. And we kind of know this. The only other people who knew where he was living were 2 former neighbors of Brandon's and one of Brandon's closest friends. He said nobody else knew where he was, including Melanie, I believe. If the story's still the same, she found it maybe through a watch that one of her kids was wearing that had GPS. But I didn't see anything about that in here.
Yeah, I remember hearing that before.
Yeah, but it says Melanie was interviewed after the attempted murder and said she didn't know anything about it, of course, and didn't know Lori and Alex's location in spite of the fact that she had been texting and emailing them. So investigators knew early on that Melanie was not being truthful.
Yeah. Yeah. We watched those interviews and we were like,
oh yeah,
body language. You
yeah.
You ain't telling the truth.
Oh no, thank goodness it's not lightning outside.
Exactly.
Been struck.
So after the interview with Melanie, they noted she moved to Rexburg, leaving her 4 kids behind.
Now, this is what I thought was interesting. They also noted that Melanie was still making the payments on Brandon's life insurance policy and suspended the divorce paperwork. I didn't know she was still paying on the life insurance policy.
I didn't either.
She wanted to make sure it didn't lapse.
Exactly. And the stuff about divorcing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what, canceling all the paperwork 2 days before?
Yeah, if you divorce, you're not going to get that.
No, you're not. So they captured images of the Jeep traveling from Idaho to Arizona through license plate readers, and I kind of wondered all along if these would come in. I'm interested to see on the days that they believe the kids were buried, if any kind of license plate reader, or sometimes they have those overhead cameras on red lights.
Oh, yeah.
Where it shows down in the bed of the truck. Saw a First 48 where they actually saw a body in the back of a truck. I'm curious to see if there's anything caught on camera that might show something.
Well, you think if you go through a toll booth,
yeah, it's
a camera. If you go through, so along those borders, because when I drive to Arizona, there's a lot of those where you have to go through, you're not necessarily crossing the border, but there are border patrol stations that you have to go through, and they're all camera.
Yeah.
So-
I mean, I really do think something's caught somewhere.
I would be interested to see who's driving.
Same. Oh, that's a
Ooh.
good point.
Yeah.
I haven't even thought of that. I mean, we know Alex was there based on his phone, but where was Lori?
Yep.
Probably sitting at home letting everybody else get their hands
Who's
dirty.
in the car?
So, yeah, so they captured that traveling towards Gilbert without the tire on the back. And if you remember, Brandon told authorities there was no tire on the back of that Jeep. So,
Yep. And where did we see him putting a tire?
oh, yeah, in that storage shed where Chad gives her a tap on the derriere there.
Yep.
Yep. And with this, it's like, it just reiterated to me how investigations work. It's like a puzzle.
Yep.
It's such a puzzle. And you see them put piece by piece by piece, and then we have a picture.
Yeah. And it's like chess. It's
True.
kind of like a chess move.
True.
Checkmate. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. They got them in checkmate right now, I think,
Oh,
already.
yeah.
But
I think so.
So they mentioned Tammy's death and Chad getting the life insurance policy. And then we talked about this last time. They also mentioned law enforcement seeing Lori and Chad holding hands just days after Tammy's death.
Yeah, red flag.
Yeah.
Red
A
flag.
few red flags.
Yeah. So they located the Jeep in Rexburg on November 1st, 2019 and impounded it. They note that JJ wasn't seen during this time and his whereabouts are unknown, and says Rexburg initiated the child endangerment case on November 26, 2019, speaking with Alex, Melanie Pulowski, and Lori, who all say JJ was being cared for by someone else, including Kay and Melanie Gibb.
Yep. So they executed those search warrants on November 27th, 2019. And we knew this. There was very little sign of JJ living in any of the residences. It doesn't tell which apartment, but it says the only things they found of JJ's was 2 backpacks with kids' belongings and a prescription for JJ that was actually filled in January of 2019 in Arizona.
Yeah.
So if you remember, the night before the search warrant, they all scattered. They all left.
Rats leaving the ship.
Yep. Cockroaches when the light comes on, as Kay says.
Yeah.
And Lori's townhome, they said, was empty, which kind of made me wonder, was the backpacks in Alex's townhome, since we fully believe at least he was involved in killing him, if not both, him and Lori. So when authorities reached out to Kay, JJ's grandma, about the prescription, this one here, this was, I think, just needed for his sleep, and that had not been filled since March of 2019. So you look, he was murdered in September. He went a very long time without his medications.
Yeah, that's horrible.
And do you remember Lori saying that sometimes when she needed a break, she would just give him his sleeping medicine early so he would go to sleep? That's horrible.
Oh, yeah.
That's terrible.
Yeah. That we talked about it on the last podcast.
Yeah.
Because Kay mentioned that he seemed different.
Yeah.
So...
And so this is kind of where we start to fill in those gaps. This is the time when Kay emails the detectives and says, hey, I found these things on Amazon. So right after the search warrant is when Kay logs onto Charles's email address, finds the Amazon purchase. She mentions wedding dresses, all that kind of stuff. And I think this is really when it vamped up.
Oh, yeah.
I think they knew Chad and Lori were having an affair, and they were definitely suspicious. But when you're seeing wedding bands and all this stuff, I think this is the time it went full throttle.
Yep. I totally agree.
Yep.
So August 2019, Adam Cox's wife emails investigators with her correct theory that Lori and Alex murdered Charles.
Yep.
In the email, she says Alex was cruel to animals and left dogs in the desert after Lori was done with him. She's good at that.
She's good at that.
He also shot and killed another dog because the dog was no longer wanted.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
There's nothing.
Citizen of the year.
Right. There's nothing redeemable about these people.
No.
You have to wonder, do their parents, I mean, from what we know, they're not the most salt of the earth people, but I wonder if they're still excusing them. I would think they probably are. If nothing else, I can totally see them, at least Janice saying, oh, Chad got to her.
Oh, yeah.
It's not her fault.
Exactly.
You know,
she was normal.
Parents that do that to their kids their whole life, you're just enabling little monsters. Yeah. Hold your kids accountable, people. They're not perfect angels.
Nope.
So that's kind of where I am I'm further, but I'm trying to put it all together. We're going to have a lot more episodes about this because there's just so many little nuggets. There's a couple of pictures. We're trying to figure out who is in them as surveillance pictures in Hawaii, but they're very pixelated. So that's kind of it. So just again, Scott told me this would probably be put out around Monday. this collaboration. So keep your eyes peeled for that. We probably won't have an episode before then just because you're out of town. And that's crazy by the time you get back and get settled. So I'm thinking maybe Tuesday-ish we'll be back on with another one. That'll give me plenty of time to start really diving into these documents and making notes.
Sounds good.
All right, guys, we appreciate you. Don't forget, check out our sponsor at twocooltshirtquilts.com/Pretty Lies and Alibis. We've already had a couple of our listeners saying they are super interested in the pillow, so that's really cool.
I can't wait to see the quilts.
Oh, I know.
The pillows look that amazing.
Oh, yeah. The stitch work is so beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
My grandma, she's almost 87. She'll be 87 next month, guys. She's in better health than all of us. But she said, wow, that's really beautiful.
Yeah, it's really cool.
So, all right, guys, we will see you soon. Keep an eye out for Scott Reich's channel, and we'll come at you on social media all weekend, though.
See ya.
With Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to... Has anyone seen the bride and groom?
Sorry, we're here. We were getting lucky in the limo and we lost track of time.
No, Lucky Land Casino, with cash prizes that add up quicker than a guest registry.
In that case, I pronounce you lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Daily bonuses are waiting. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Okay, round two. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Ah, sorry. We were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right. ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.